Welcome back. Libras are having a meltdown on ABC latest polls. I don't know if you have seen this. I have some videos I'm going to play so you can see exactly how they are crying on TV.
So, this is one of my favorite things, a new ABC Washington Post poll. That's tough to say. Washington Post poll.
Sorry.
Shows that Biden is trailing you-know-who by nearly 10 points. But I know there are other polls that are also happening that are saying different things. What is going on out there?
So this ABC poll, I think, may be a bit of an outlier.
And I say that what you mean by that. Explain what.
Basically, I'm with you where I'm skeptical of polls. They were wrong in 2016. They were wrong in the midterms in 2020. But you can take information on aggregate when a lot of polls show the same thing over a period of time in different voters. One off that's so far out of step with other polling may mean there was an anomaly when they were taking the poll. I trust our pollsters at ABC. They're phenomenal. So I think this may have just it may have overstated the lead. But let me be clear. Joe Biden has a big re-election problem, and Democrats need to wake up to it, whether they want to hear it or not. On aggregate, he has the highest approval rating since Jimmy Carter, who we all recall didn't go on to win re-election. He's lost massive support with black voters and Hispanic voters, places where you wouldn't think Donald Trump would do well, but he's doing significantly better than he did in 2020. He's doing, way better than he was in 2020, 42% with Hispanic voters, 20% with black voters. And one thing that's going on right now is this United Auto Workers strike. Joe Biden's going there this week, and so is Donald Trump. But Donald Trump announced he was going first. And one area Democrats have been losing in the Trump era is working class voters. I think in many ways they're seen as maybe too elitist for people who don't have college educations. And Donald Trump picked up those voters. He announced he was showing up for them before Joe Biden did. It's a problem. I don't want Donald Trump.
When you take a look at this article recently published by The Guardian, a new Washington Post ABC poll showing Biden trailing his presidential predecessor Donald Trump by 10 percentage points was exaggerated by leading political pollster Larry, noting that the pollsters themselves cautioned that their survey was an outlier. The dictator of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia called the decision to release it ridiculous. Now they are criticizing these polls. I don't know why. I will play this video so you can see their meltdown. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please endeavor to do that. And if possible, please share out this video.
9-point lead over President Biden in that poll. And whatever caveats, whether that is an outlier, that's a tough one to spin. The message may be out there, but they're not feeling it.
Well, 13 million jobs created, lower prescription drug prices. You hear all of this great news, and then you go into the grocery store and you're still in the aisle where they sell the vegetables and the fruit. You haven't even turned around to the meat, and already you've spent $70. They're not feeling it. Yeah, you can say a lot, as James Brown would say, talking loud and saying nothing. But at the end of the day, there's more than enough time to turn all of this bad weather around and go out there and make your case to the American people.
Sarah, should they be panicking?
The economy's been getting better, and Joe Biden's numbers have been getting worse. That tells you something about what the American people are trying to tell these pollsters. Set aside the individual questions. The Democratic Party, though, has a really serious problem, which is there's no one on the bench. You look more in that poll. Do you want Harris to be the nominee? No. Do you want Buttigieg? No. Someone else got 20%. The Democrats have had a historically weak bench for the last 10 plus years. It's because everyone's Joe Biden's age. So there's no one to replace Biden on the ticket. And so they're stuck with him a little bit. And his numbers keep going down and his appearances keep getting worse.
And speaking of that, age, they talk about as such a huge factor, obviously. He can't do anything about that, but he does keep saying, just look at me, and people look at him.
Right, and this poll is the result of what they see, right? That when you have an unfixable issue like that, right, you can't.
Yes, you can see clearly how they are trashing Biden administration. Even Chris had this to say, partaken to what he has observed, but it is insane. He said something that triggered me. You cannot even take this man and you be telling me I am second after Trump. And he speaks like he doesn't even believe in the polls.
Chris, thanks for being here tonight. It looks like in New Hampshire, they are not all that into Ron DeSantis. It's pretty remarkable. Donald Trump in this new poll is the clear frontrunner. He's at 39% support, but there is a four-way tie now within the margin of error for second place between DeSantis, who's dropped 13 points.
No, I agree. That's the lead to this poll. DeSantis has dropped 13 points since July.
Numbers you see there, former President Trump is solidifying his lead with GOP primary voters. You've been in this race since June, Governor. Why aren't you gaining more traction?
Well, Kristen, look, I know you all spent a whole lot of money on national polls, so I don't mean to go after the polling folks, but the fact is that national polls don't matter. 5% of Republican voters in those two very important early states want an alternative. And in those in places like New Hampshire, I'm in second place behind Donald Trump.
Yes, according to this article, Biden and former President Donald Trump appear headed for a rematch of their 2020 contest, although more than 3 in 5 Democrat and Democratic-leaning independents says they would prefer a nominee other than the president. But Biden's advisors have argued that he is the strongest Democrat for 2024, and those who wish for someone else share no consensus on who that should be, with 8% naming Vice President Harris, 8% naming Senator Bernie Sanders, and 20% saying they prefer just someone else. The ABC poll shows Biden trailing Trump by 10% point at this early stage in the election cycle, although this sizable margin of Trump lead in this survey is significantly at odds with other public polls that shows the general election contest a virtual dead heat. The difference between these polls and others, as well as the unusual makeup of Trump and Biden coalitions in this survey, suggests it is probably an outlier. In his bid to become the Republican presidential nominee for a third time, Trump is in strong position nationally. Despite facing multiple criminal charges, he is favored by 54% of Republicans, and Republican-leaning independents later changed from 51% in May. Florida governor is second at 15%, down from 25% in May. No other Republican reaches double digits. Trump also leads his gov rivals in recent state polls, which are likely to be more reliable indicators than national polls of the shape of the gov race in the coming months. Trump faces 91 felony counts in 4 jurisdictions, including 2 cases in which he has been indicted on charges of attempting to attend the 2020 elections. Asks whether the former president is being held accountable under the law like anyone else will be, or unfairly victimized by his political opponent. 53% of Americans say he is being held accountable like others, and 40% say he is being unfairly victimized. 3/4 of Republicans says the latter. So you can see exactly what is going on in these polls. So liberals melting down, they know exactly this is frightening. Trump has risen like never before. There are black people that I've never seen advocating for Trump on social media. It is something new to me. I've never experienced this before.